All right, guys, this is the last day of the 7 day of onboarding. Thank you so much for completing your 7 days once you finish this last video. So we're going to be talking about a couple things. We're going to be talking about the mindset stuff and the IPAs and just really how to make sure that you're here for the long term for your business and not just for you, for your team members. And so I'm going to go ahead and share with you real quick, actually, somebody that I really admire, Mr. Jim Rohn. He was one of those guys that when I got started in the direct sales industry, I remember getting, back then they were like CDs, and I popped the CD in my card and it was given to me by someone who was mentoring me at that time. And I'm like, what is this? And the more I listened to Jim Rohn, the more my mind started to really shift. And so we're going to open with that real quick. I'm going to exit out of this for just a second. I'm going to stop share. And I'm going to pull up this quick video. Okay, now let me just screen share. Here we go.
What you have at the moment, Mr. Rohn, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. Few little simple principles here. Once you understand these, it starts to explain so much. Now, sometimes it's a little tough to take, blaming yourself instead of the marketplace, taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, the creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises. And he says, here's how that occurs. You've attracted, up until now, you've attracted the things to you because of the person you've become. Now I said, well, how can I change all that? He said, very simple. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more. And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Start working on yourself, making these personal changes. He said it'll all change for you.
It's so crazy how a lot of times we think it's the outside world that is, the difference. And it really is just who we are as people. And as if you can, like he said, if you can become better, you can do more, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and start right here. Jim Rohn says, if you change, everything will change for you. And so here's a couple quotes. This one is from Peter Drucker. The best way to predict your future is to create it, right? Like you are in charge of your future. There's nobody else that will be in charge of that for you. And then there's another one here, because there's two types of people in the world: those who produce results and those who give reasons why they didn't. Right? The people who make excuses. And then 3, we can either make money or make excuses, but we can't make both. And I know I've shared this before. Some of the things are repetition. It's only just so that you can kind of really drive some things home. If you want something new, you have to do something, you have to stop doing something old. Meaning if you're not getting the results from the things that you're doing, then you've got to change it up and you've got to try to do something different. There is nothing worse than doing the wrong thing really well, right? So we don't want to keep repeating the things that we're not doing correctly. We want to make sure that we're shifting and we're changing and making sure we're improving and doing something new instead of something old. Because, right, they said the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? So we have to change some things around. And so here's guys, are you busy or are you being productive? So there's a difference, right? The difference is, you guys, between being busy and productive. There are days where it's so busy, but it didn't move you in the direction of your goals and your dreams, or to help rank, advance, or move your business forward, right? We're just busy doing stuff. There's a difference between activity versus productivity. It's not how much we do, but how effective we are in what we do. So some of the terminologies we use is, work on your MBA, work on your massive bank account, right? How do you do that? You do that. There's different terminologies in our industry that you can use that you might be familiar with. I use IPAs, but there's HPA. high paying payoff activities, PPA, profit producing activities, MMA, money making activities, IPA, income producing activities, or HLA, high level activities. Any of those work, right? It just basically tells you, hey, what are you doing that's moving your business forward so that you can build your bank account? And so, whatever it is, it has to be activity versus the productivity. Activity meaning you're just like moving and you're just being busy. Productivity is actually doing something that's moving you in the direction that you need to go. Now, I'm talking about these things before I talk about IPAs because your mindset has to be in the right place for you to understand, the goals that you have, right? So here we go, you guys. Time block, time management, and discipline. How many of you here have heard me talk about time blocking before, right? Where I talk about, hey, block off time. So time blocking, right, is where you schedule each week so that you know your plan. Now, everybody's schedule is going to be a little bit different. However, for me, usually Sundays are the weeks where I look at my calendar and I plan and I look ahead at what's going on during that week so I can think about how I can structure myself. And if there's holes in my schedule, meaning there are downtimes where there's nothing there to allow me to have that kind of productivity or money making activities, I make sure that I'm filling my schedule up so that I have things going on that are helping me benefit my future and what my checks will look like and how am I going to help my team, right? So we need to run our day because if we don't, our day totally ends up running us. Oops, I spelled running wrong. That's going to bother me, but that's okay. So it ends up running us, right? So focus on blocking time to do your business. What is that? It means making phone calls, right? Those follow-up calls. You create some sort of daily method of operation. A lot of the terminologies you hear are DMO or daily method of operation. So in our industry, you'll find a lot of shortened words to be able to describe some of the things that we do. So there are people out there, take a look at this, you guys. There are people out there who are doing more with 10 hours a week, meaning just like if you just break it down for 2 hours a day for 5 days, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They do more in 2 hours a day for 5 days compared to some other people that I know who are working full time or saying they're doing this business full time, but they're not utilizing their time wisely throughout the week, right? I mean, I'm guilty of that sometimes too. And that's why there were times where I wanted to be an entrepreneur and I worked from home and I decided to go quote unquote full time. But what happened was I was not utilizing my time wisely. I was not being disciplined and I was not doing the daily method of operations. I was not time blocking. I was not doing the things that I needed to do. And so what happened was because I was not disciplined enough, then what that made me do is go back to the job. And so I went back and forth a couple times and finally I just put my foot down and I'm like, you cannot do this. You have to be disciplined. You have to be great with your time. You have to learn time blocking. You've got to be great at managing. And then once I started shifting and learning better on how to really manage my time, I started becoming more productive using the prime times to do the things that are more productive that will be moving my business forward. And then the things are not making me money or non-productive are moved into different times of the day, like usually like late at night or maybe super early in the morning where everybody else is sleeping and business hours are not open. Although now I have, my admin for my real estate, she's like on the East Coast, so she's 6 hours ahead. So even if I wake up at 5 o'clock, I already have got stuff like pouring in. So typically that stuff gets done for me late at night. All right, here's something to think about and sort of kind of chew on, right? So, where are you spending your time, or where should you be spending your time? So, 25% should be towards prospecting for me, meaning you should be prospecting for your list of 100 names or your people, right? And then the other 25% should be follow up with your prospects, meaning the people that you've been working on, making sure that you're following up. And we hear this all the time, and it sounds so redundant, but it is absolutely 100% true. The fortune is in the follow up. What happens is if you don't follow up with them, somebody else might talk to them and end up in their business instead of yours, just because you just didn't do a really good job of follow through. So make sure you're touching bases and following up with people. And if they're not ready right now, make sure you're putting them in that 30, 60, 90-day list and ask for permission to follow up in the next 30 days or ask for permission to ask to follow up in the next, 60 or 90 days. Because when you have the conversation with people, you'll know based on the conversations if they're going to be more open in the next 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, depending on what's going on in their lives, right? But make sure you have and follow that system of following up with people. Now, 25% that you'll use outside of your personal prospects and following up with your prospects is now supporting your team, right? Now, if you don't have a team right now, it's totally okay. Adjust more time now for prospects and follow up. So more of that percentage should be focused there. But if you have a team, 25% of the time that you have available should be doing three-way calls, three-way chats, long launch calls or launch Zooms where you're supporting your team, doing, presentations for them. 25%, the remaining of the 25% should be spent promoting events. Now, for those of you who know, we have an event coming up, right? So make sure you're promoting that this coming weekend. But promote the Zooms, right? When we have these Zoom presentations, the in-person presentations, any of these 7K destination events, any of the trainings like this one, any incentives that your leader puts out there for you, any promotions that your leader promotes and puts out there, or any 7K incentives or promotions, put it all out there. That's where your effort should be spent. I think it was Tony that spoke about Saturday, how, be good at promoting events, right? And we should be promoting event to event to event. Events are just what I just talked about, which is Zooms, in-persons, right? Events, trainings, incentives, promotions, all of that stuff. Just constantly be promoting. Like on Monday, tomorrow is the Monday, right? Make sure you don't miss the Monday call, 4 o'clock Hawaii time. Make sure when there are any type of really important team meetings or team calls, be good at showing up. I mean, I know life is not the same for everybody as far as their schedules, but do your best to show up and do your best at promoting that event so your teams can get there, right? Performance measured is performance improved. You cannot manage what you don't measure, so you have to know your numbers. Focus on growing and duplicating, always adding to your business, which is why promoting the events, supporting your teams, prospecting for yourself, all those follow-ups, those are keys to growing your business and maintaining your business, right? Which is why this onboarding is super key. These last few days consecutively, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then closing today with the 7th day of onboarding, having them go through this sequence, you guys, is going to be key to being able to duplicate the system, duplicate what we're doing here. Then that way you'll have more time doing the things that are productive as well, which is prospecting and getting more people to follow up with as well. But make sure that you're duplicating the system. Now, yeah, you can do it with your team members, but if we can duplicate it where the new team member who gets them onboarded can teach them to do the same and do the same, now you don't have, let's say, for example, there's only one of me, right? Imagine if I had to do 7 onboarding, a day. That would take up so much of my time from allowing me to do some other things that could be really productive for the team, for our growth, and for other people as well. And so it's so important for each other to be able to support by duplicating the system so that everybody can do more together. Grow your list on a daily basis, reach out to people, promote the system, and make sure that they can build, quote unquote, without you. And what I mean by that, and I want to make sure I clarify when I say promote the systems, we have the Telegram groups, the Facebook groups, right? Group chats, all these events that we go to, promote people, plugging them into the system, plugging them into 7K, plugging them into the trainings. The reason you want to do that is when you're not available, and maybe you're working, maybe you're traveling, maybe you're away, maybe you're sick and you're not feeling very well, that your business and your team members can still build even if you're unavailable at that time, because they'll have the resources of having other leaders that are working with them, or the Telegram groups where they're getting all that information and support, or the training videos that you can direct them to, right? Or the Facebook groups and all the lives and all the stuff that we do, the YouTube channel that we have that will have all of this training and information that we have. This is a system, and this is something that's developed so we can design to be a little bit more available to do other things as well. this will be helpful. And this is exactly why I wanted to do the 7-day training, you guys, is because if I'm not available, anybody can do this. They can walk them through that whole onboarding system with or without me, or with or without the other leaders that are here in our organization, right? And the other crazy part about this, you guys, is now the brand new person can just click on the videos and really just do it on their own if they really wanted to as well, or refresh themselves on some of these things that they need to refresh themselves on, so we don't have to repeat that process. And I was talking to some other people. They're like, "And why did you do that? Like now you're so busy." And I was thinking, you know what though? No matter what, there's never going to be a right time. I'm always going to be super busy. While I'm inspired and I've got the motivation to do it, I might as well do it now. And that's why I went ahead and did it, even though there are a lot of things going on. Okay. If you can give them a fish, meaning your team members, right? If you can give them a fish, um, if you give them the answers, that's just giving them the fish, right? And instead of just showing them where the answers are, you're only going to feed them for a day, meaning they're going to keep asking you all the time to give you the answers, right? And if you do that, what you're doing is you're just giving them the fish, giving them the fish, giving them the fish. But what you want to do, you guys, is you want to be able to follow this and says, but if you can teach a man to fish, right? Teach them how to use the tools, teach them how to use the resources, the support system that we have. You will feed them for a lifetime because you're duplicating a system that works, that allow people to be able to work even when you're sleeping, especially when we're starting to build outside of Hawaii, building outside of the States, right? With the time zones are different, building in different countries. Following this duplicating system is only going to benefit you and your team members, and you're not going to get burnt out. Super important to make sure that you're teaching people the system and you're not just giving them a fish, but you're teaching them how to fish so that they would be able to feed themselves and their team members for a lifetime. So here you go, guys. Be strategic with your time. Winning, right? That's how you equal winning. Now, focus on sponsoring, focus on dream building, finding your dream team. How many of you like have a favorite sport, right? Or favorite team? Or some people play like those fantasy football games, and you dream build your football team, right? So here you want to dream build your team and what that looks like for you and what your organization will look like, right? This is a lifeline of your business by focusing on sponsoring and focusing on building your dream team, launching your new team members. That's why this whole onboarding is going to be a great process for them to go through, and not just going through the actual trainings, but taking the actions that the trainings are asking them to do, meaning like creating their 100 name list, launching, plugging into the telegrams, making sure they're being in there, doing the welcoming, all the stuff that we're teaching. Make sure we're following the system and we're not just listening to the training and not applying what we're learning, right? Get good at promoting events. I'm telling you, those who who do this, they see growth in their residual income. They see growth in their teams. They see people sticking around a lot longer when they're coming to these events. Keep driving depth in your teams, meaning reach down and find people in your organization that really want to work, right? Work with your team that will lead you to somebody else that also wants to work. So if there's people in your organization that don't want to work, it's okay. Not that we're going to leave them behind, but we want to find the team members that do want to work with us and work with them closely so that we can keep driving depth. This will only solidify your business if you do that. Make sure that they're plugging into trainings. Trainings are so important. You can keep doing the things and doing all the actions, but if they're not learning and growing, which is why like the book clubs are great, showing up to these trainings are great, showing up to some of the other trainings that are available is great. All of the back office training, awesome. Whenever we have trainings for our teams, that we have guests that come on, amazing. So promote the trainings, you guys, because it's only going to benefit you and it's going to benefit your team members when they're plugged into the training. And just remember, your team will only do what you do. You are the example. So if they're seeing you showing up, they're going to show up. If they're seeing you're not showing up, they're going to do the same. And so just keep that in mind, right? But do training on life, how to be great at life, how to handle life and stress. Do training on leadership, how to become better as a leader. I think we can all improve in that area, including myself for sure. And then really get great at skill set development, meaning all of these things that we're teaching, mastering the mundane, mastering the basics, right? This is one of what's going to help you to keep winning. So we're gonna go back to Jim Rohn because again, I just really love him, and we're gonna wrap up with this, you guys. Real quick, I'm gonna pull this up, and I'm gonna screen share. Here we go, and here we go.
Here was the best promise my mentor ever gave me. He said, Mr. Owen, if you will change, everything will change for you. Wow, I took that to heart. And sure enough, the more I changed for the better, the more I changed from having a poor day to a good day, from lack of discipline to discipline. The more I changed, giving up old habits, acquiring new ones, the more my life changed, my income changed, everything changed.
I love Jim Rohn, you guys. If you can just keep watching Jim Rohn all the time, I promise you, it is so life changing. It's mindset changing. And that's it, you guys. I just want to say thank you for, being a part of this training program. Thank you so much for being a part of this team. Mahalo, guys. This is the very last day of the 7 days of onboarding. Let your team members know to watch the whole series if they can, re-onboard themselves if they're kind of feeling a little stagnant. If they're new, welcome to the family. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop recording now, and we'll open for Q&A.